So these niggas talking about.
Hey, it's Brian and Logan from IGN. How are you doing, Logan?
Good. We just played the Switch 2.
We did. So we got to play the Switch 2 today. We went hands-on. We got to play it in docked mode. We got to take off the Joy-Cons, played a ton of games. So we're going to tell you all about it. So let's get into it. Okay, I want to start with the screen quality. In handheld mode, immediately, kind of a disappointment that this isn't an OLED screen, but it still looks really good, right, Logan?
Yeah, that was one of my big disappointments from the Direct, was no OLED model.
Did we think it was going to be OLED?
Launch, but we did a side-by-side with my OLED that I have now of the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, and the Switch 2 looked really, really nice. Mario Kart, the colors were
that shit though fat as hell.
I don't think that people are really going to miss the OLED as much as we were worried we might when we knew that this wasn't going to have OLED.
But I think ultimately they wanted to keep the price around where it is right now, which is $450.
Yeah, it'd be more expensive.
Knowing Nintendo, they'll double dip with an OLED model a few years
Probably.
from now. But for now, games docked look really good. In fact, games in handheld mode look really good too. But in docked mode, you can get up to 4K with some games.
Damn.
And up to 120 FPS with some games. Both those things won't happen at the same time.
Which games?
But either way, the dock has a fan built in now to help maintain performance a little
I thought
bit.
they were going to say for Mario Kart.
See games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Kart, Metroid Prime 4. We got to play them all in docked mode, and they look really good.
Yeah, when we played Breath of the Wild, I thought
bro.
this is what go to the Korok Forest and it runs great.
The Korok Forest runs good?
It looks great.
That's
you set
insane.
a whole grassy plain on fire, no frame drops. It looks and runs really, really nice. So yeah, not
Actually
sure if
insane.
I need to play this again nice, but is a really nice upgrade for anyone who's going to revisit those games.
Yeah, or if you skipped them the first time around and the Switch 2 is your first time getting into the Nintendo ecosystem, then, I mean, those are some of the best games of all time. So I'm actually kind of jealous that you get to play them with higher fidelity visuals for the first time, because I'll never get that time back. But you know what? I loved that time.
Build quality,
I want to
buttons,
move on
sticks.
to the build quality of the system itself. A lot of the concerns around the Switch 1 were very justified when it came to things like Joy-Con drift and really just the feel of the system itself. Feeling a little wobbly, kind of toyetic, not necessarily very sturdy, especially the launch model. The Switch 2 feels great. Just holding the system feels like a high quality
Bro, they
device.
can. Okay, I was gonna say, can they not go past that first page? I've seen that first page in Mario Kart like
We have
crazy.
a few apprehensions about all of that, but in the meantime, holding the system actually felt like a premium product. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I loved it. I was really impressed with the build quality of it, and instantly when you hold it, you see this is why this is a $450 machine. It is very nice. It feels very premium, and again, holding it side by side with the Switch 1, you're right, the Switch 1 does look a bit more like a toy, and this one feels more of like a premium console. So I really liked that. The Joy-Con are amazing.
Damn, hold on, let me see that Joy-Con side by side again. Yeah, you can definitely tell it's a lot bigger.
Premium console. So I really liked that. The Joy-Con are amazing. I think the Joy-Con 2 are one of the stars of this show, whether it's the mouse mode or just the better.
That too, bro. I just gotta. I've obviously mentioned this many times. As a nigga with big hands, will this feel
I think the
good?
Joy-Con 2 are one of the stars of this show, whether it's the mouse mode or just the better feeling buttons and sticks. And when you're playing in the split grip, they just feel nicer in your hands because they're a little bit longer. So it's just a big upgrade. I think that the big question is Joy-Con drift. We still don't know about that.
Yeah.
They didn't say in the direct.
Cook up. They didn't mention it at all. I'm scared. Thank you. I do not want to deal with that shit again.
If they're Hall effect, we still don't know today as we're recording this, so I really hope that they don't have the same drift issues.
Please, not for $90 fucking dollars.
The Joy-Con were a big win.
Yeah, you would hope that Nintendo, after all the feedback and concerns and, you know, not necessarily class action lawsuit level, but felt like it should have gotten close enough. Most of my Joy-Cons ended up drifting over the last 7 years. That they would be focusing on making this a better quality system when it came to that specifics in regard to that, but we haven't found that out yet. But in the meantime, holding it, playing it felt really great. You got to do a thing where you took the Joy-Cons on and off and put them on upside down, and it worked.
Yeah, it does work. They pop right in there like you would think they would. We don't know if they actually function that way, but yeah, you can pop them in, and it's not like Switch 1 where if you put on a grip the wrong way, you might have to use a knife or something to pry it off. It was really easy to just snap on and off, and yeah, we have to talk about that. Just
That's cool.
the magnetic lock, there was some concern, are these going to shake out? Are they going to fall out? No, they are locked in there. You can't yank them off. They don't have the same amount of wiggle that your Switch 1 Joy-Con do on the rails nowadays if you've had them for several years, but it's so easy to pop them off just by holding that button and yanking them off. So yeah, I think that the switch from the slide to the snap-on is a really good one.
I also think I clicked them on and off today like 25 times because it's so
satisfying.
It's so satisfying. Yeah, I really loved it. Okay, so the new Joy-Cons themselves, we got to play with them today. We got to use pointer controls. We got to use mouse controls. There's a lot of new sort of functionality under the hood. We got to play games in mouse mode. We got to play Metroid Prime 4 with pointer controls and stick controls and seamlessly take the Joy-Con, place it down sideways on the table, and a little reticle immediately popped up on the screen.
Yeah, they were playing Metroid earlier.
Into mouse controls. I thought that was super cool.
I was like, nah, that's crazy. This is at 4K right now. They was talking about quality and performance mode. I'm like, Nintendo don't know shit about quality and performance mode, man.
That reticle appears, and now you have a functioning Joy-Con mouse. And
they was actually cooking over there. Metroid
mouse controls, and it works
running pretty good,
really well. Sometimes you have to awkwardly crane your thumb or your pointer finger down on the face button since you're holding it in that weird new way, but otherwise the aiming worked really well. I felt like I was actually doing better at the combat with the mouse controls.
Yeah.
We saw mouse controls with a ton of other stuff too.
And some stuff that I didn't like as much, like Dragon Drive, which I think that's more of a game issue, but actually controlling it, I had some issues with. But the Mario Party minigames.
So they still have not mentioned that shit.
Nintendo was doing controls.
The most reliable source I saw said it would be like the PS5 upgrades, where it's like $10.
What if you could literally use it to drag and drop?
That's too much to me, depending on what it is.
It's too much. It's too much if it doesn't include like
the bad ones from Bowser go in the trash.
When I upgraded Ghost of Tsushima, it gave me the DLC as well as all the
exactly
graphic upgrades.
Exactly.
So if I don't get like
they've been or
if
whatever,
TLTK doesn't come with,
at least in my opinion,
felt really good. Again, don't know if drift is going to be an issue, but the Joy-Cons themselves feel high quality, which is important because they're $90 a pair now.
Yes, they are. They are very pricey, and we also got a good look at the Joy-Con 2 strap, which have mouse feet on them now, so you can use mouse mode without the wrist straps, but it feels like a computer mouse
thing for my rivals.
On, and it is thinner. It is a little awkward in the hand. I think if you have bigger hands, it might feel a little bit tight, but
Chat, this is what I was concerned about.
No, the mouse feet on the Joy-Con strap.
He said, so he was like, yeah, they're using the mouse today. It felt really, really good, but if you have big hands, it's probably not going to feel all too great.
Make it feel really good if you have the right surface too.
Which I imagined it's not a very like it's a little bigger than the regular Joy-Con, but that shit's gonna probably feel like I'm playing Kid Icarus on 3DS. That shit would be awkward as hell.
My hand,
it kind of worked. Yeah.
So most of the demos we played today that used mouse controls literally had a mouse pad on the table, and so. Obviously, that's probably not something you're going to be traveling with.
Exactly.
So Nintendo's going to have to figure out different ways that this is going to have to work.
No, they're actually cooking right now.
On different servers.
Because how the fuck is that going to work?
Playing on your leg, which they actually did tell people to do in one demo.
They're talking about the mouse functions and just how there's going to be some games. So they said for the Bravely Default, they added new shit to the game where it's going to be using that because it's a 3DS game, so you'd use the stylus or whatever. But how do you travel and play that? Like, if I'm fucking in a plane, can I use my fucking leg easily to make the mouse move or whatever? But who wants to even do all that? Because, Nintendo, a lot of times when they do those gimmicky things, they don't give you another option. You don't get to just use controller only. So, that's
just like Mario Party.
Yeah.
That Mario Party game.
Well, then they implemented the camera into that, too. So it's like, okay, so if I don't have camera, can I not do this? So they just, I don't know, they be avoiding the questions that we really need answers to.
It'll work. If you're playing on the back of my hand, you might have some problems. But also, if you're playing on the back of my hand,
they did say on jeans though, it felt pretty decent.
Somebody call the police.
Like if you were playing like on your pants or whatever, like it didn't feel like the worst thing ever.
I want to get into some other details about the Switch 2 that we got to experience today. The kickstand. Definitely an improvement over the launch model Nintendo Switch 1 kickstand. Probably not as great as the one on the Switch OLED.
Yeah, so this is like a U-shaped kickstand. You've probably seen it if you've looked at the renders of the Switch 2. But the Switch 1 launched with a very flimsy kickstand that was easy to break.
Yeah,
you could even lose
very easy to break.
The OLED was kind of the whole bottom half of the backside of the console was the kickstand. This one's kind of the middle ground. It is a U-shaped design that still spans the entire console, and you can still put it at any angle you want. But I could see it like if it gets crushed or dropped, it could get bent and warped out of shape. So yeah, it's not a huge concern of mine, but I think the OLED one is a little bit nicer.
Now, the Nintendo GameCube had something called the C-Stick, that little yellow nub. Nintendo has brought the C back with the C button, which is now on every Switch 2, and it calls up game chat. So we didn't get to use that specifically because it's a very busy environment, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Demo area, but we did get to press it a bunch, and we did get to experience some of the interactions that happen with it. Specifically, there is a camera that you can buy for your Switch 2 that's $50. We let it basically film us and put us in Mario Party minigames.
Oh, really? Okay. What's that like?
Pipes. We yelled and jumped around, and it registered those movements and sounds. And
that's cool.
Which of us could scream louder? We got awarded points. And in classic Mario Party fashion, your team won 2 rounds, my team won 1 round, but
that's
my
cool.
team won the whole thing. Yeah, that's all you need is one round.
So it does do the green screen shit.
You know, some of that stuff, it's sort of low quality in terms of like the visual aesthetic, and you know, I'm not expecting the best sound out of this thing, but it's pretty cool that there is like a built-in microphone now that theoretically will work with game chat with friends.
Yeah, I got flashbacks to WarioWare Snapped, the DSiWare game, if you remember that from way back in the day when they showed off the camera, but it functions much better than that. I felt like it was tracking our motions pretty accurately.
So the camera's decent.
Mini games and didn't really have any huge issues. And yeah, like you said, we didn't get to test out my face is appearing in my box on the Mario Party board, and you can see me react when you steal my star. We didn't do that yet, but what we saw looked cool. And we also know that it will work with other USB-C cameras, so you don't have to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 camera, but certain ones will be compatible. We don't have a list of those, but yeah, it's cool to see that it's not proprietary. You can bring your own camera and plug it in to see if it works.
Lastly, we got to go hands-on with the new Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller.
I got that title right?
That's right. Yes, you could.
Not the Nintendo 2 Switch Pro 2 controller or anything like that. Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, which feels awesome.
Yes.
One of the best feeling video game controllers they've made. The Switch 1 Pro controller, like battery life was insane. The build quality was really good. I had some issues with the D-pad and you know, usual sort of stick problems that you get with a lot of modern controllers these days. But this one, at least, it's got Amiibo support. It's got a headphone jack. Finally, it's crazy the last one didn't. We didn't get to stress test the battery life.
Wow, I forgot. I have a Pro controller in my hand right now. I completely forgot there's no headphone jack. That shit is sick. Nintendo really about 55,000 years behind.
Itself just yet, but I'm hoping this becomes another hit and that the D-pad works out really well. We got to play some games with it, but didn't really get to play like twitchy, you know, 2D platformers, fighting games, Tetris, or anything like that. So what are your thoughts on Pro Controller?
Yeah, it felt like second verse, same as the first. I thought it was a really solid, just kind of iterative step on the Switch 1 Pro Controller. Like you hold it, it feels pretty much the same. It does have the new GL and GR buttons, which are for the grip. And I press them, they feel nice. I think they might get in the way a little bit. You might press them unintentionally sometimes, but they weren't mapped to anything in the demos we saw, so we don't fully know how those are going to work in practice. But no, the Pro Controller is great. I thought it felt really premium, just like the Switch 1 did, and we'll just have to see. None of the games we played really were stress tests on the D-pad. It wasn't like a Tetris or something like that, so jury's still out on if they improved that, but I thought the controller itself was really great.
Yeah, it's interesting to see them do programmable back paddles. Like this is new for them. This is something the Steam Deck has, and Microsoft has done with their controllers before. So all in all, it feels like they are sort of like servicing a lot of the needs of more pro hardcore gamers who have wanted things like 4K or 120 FPS or programmable back paddles and voice chat and all this stuff that, like, you know, I think historically has not really been aligned with Nintendo hardware, and this is the kind of stuff they're working on now. So some of that does come with some concerns, obviously. Like the price, $450 is it kind of stings. And
I don't know, maybe I'm just dick sucking. I really don't think the 450 is that crazy. I really more have a problem with the price of the games. Like I said, maybe I'm just dick sucking Nintendo.
Seeing battery life can be anywhere between 2 and 6.5 hours.
I think I did it.
Handheld mode.
Oh, let's go!
Let's go!
It's gonna run that thing into the ground in 2 hours. Whereas, like, if you're playing Mario Kart, you might get a couple more than that.
I told you I'd come back and do it under 20.
So good. And on that
minutes.
That Switch 1 model that they launched shortly after launch that had the improved battery, that was a big improvement. So 2 hours, man, like if you're playing Metroid Prime 4 at 120 FPS and it only lasts 2 hours, that is not great. But like you said, this is a premium product. It feels premium, and the price reflects that it's premium. This feels like Nintendo trying to keep up and make strides alongside the handheld PC market, like a Steam Deck. They're adding a lot of things that those machines have that Switch 1 just didn't have. It's kind of this new market that the Switch 1 created, and then a lot of copycats came along and made some improvements in some ways, and here's Nintendo's revision to answer some of those questions. So I think it feels really good. It is big. It is big in the hands.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks pretty big.
If you put them side by side and you line them up on the left, the entirety of the Switch 2 right Joy-Con juts out from the Switch 1. So it's an entire Joy-Con wider. It's pretty big in the hands, and I think it's gonna be pretty heavy in longer play sessions. I don't know if you've seen like those pillows you can get now to like strap your Switch to. So yeah, that might be something people will want because it's a hefty machine, but it's the same thickness, so it's not that beefy to hold.
The same thing.
It's noticeably bigger in the hands.
Oh shit.
Well, it remains
wasn't the end.
It's going to do Switch 1 numbers again. I can't wait for it either way. It's out June 5th for $450 or $500 with the Mario Kart bundle. We have tons more coverage coming out of the Nintendo Switch 2 hands-on event here in New York City, including all the games we played. So stick around, keep watching IGN for all things Nintendo Switch 2. Thanks, Logan.
Thanks, Brian.
That should look cool, man.